Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today I am celebrating 300 subscribers. Thank you so much for your continued support and all your messages and comments. I really love reading them, so thanks for getting me here. And as you will know, those regulars on my channel, when I get to a big number like 300, I do a celebratory nostalgia video, very silly video. And today I'm going to count down my favourite pinball tables. Back at my university days in the early 90s, so all the tables I'm going to be looking at come from that sort of 1990s, 1994 era. I was at Leeds University in the north of England, and I was a pinball addict. You used to go into the student union at Leeds, and they had this kind of pit, this lower area full of pool tables, and people drinking, was it called Snakebite and Black? Do you remember this? It was like a pint, but it was purple, like people drinking pints of Ribena. I think it was cider and blackcurrant, I think it was. And there'd be all these people playing pool, and then there was a few little arcade machines in the corner like Smash TV and Chase HQ. And then there was this beautiful line of 4 pinball tables which kept changing. And I became a bit of an addict of pinball. And it was quite funny. There was me and my friend used to come down from our flats and play in the union. And then there was this other sort of rival gang of pinball players. I can't remember the name of the guy who led the gang. I think he was called Pex or something like that. And he was brilliant at it. And he always used to leave his name on all 4 machines as the top player on those machines. And once or twice we actually knocked him off. And I like to think of him coming down, looking a bit like James Dean, with a leather jacket and a toothpick in his mouth. He probably didn't look like that. He probably looked like Jack Black. But I like to think of him coming along and seeing the line of machines with his name, and then suddenly, Mike, who's that? And then quickly playing a game to knock me off the spot. Every time we went back, he was back on all 4 machines as the top scorer. Anyway, I loved playing the game, and these were the 6 pinball tables I really fell in love with at the time. The first one was called Funhouse, and it had a sort of carnival funfair aspect to it. And what was most noticeable about Funhouse as a table was it had this kind of big face, like a sort of clown face in the middle. It looked just like that ventriloquist dummy in the British horror film Dead of Night, if you've ever seen that. The ventriloquist dummy that makes Michael Redgrave commit murders. And it was really creepy, and it used to say things like, "Shoot again, bud," all these kind of things. And what was really eerie about it was sometimes if I was standing there waiting for my friend to join me, waiting for him to get the drinks at the bar, and the table was off, it wasn't playing, the little creature, this little clown face, used to speak, which was really unnerving. And you see his little mouth go up and down like a puppet. But it was really good gameplay. There was lots going on in the game, and I really enjoyed this pinball table. It was the first one that I fell in love with. Then next to it appeared Bride of Pinbot. What a great word, Pinbot. Now this is one of those tables. It had this kind of faux erotic sci-fi cover with this kind of female robot with long legs and high heels. Why do robots need high heels? Anyway, and this was the game that turned up. This was an extremely difficult game, I remember. I think this was the most difficult table I fell in love with. And it was most noticeable because it had a very large upper game area. So you have your flippers, but then the top half of the table was all a sort of second level tier. And it was her face, and you had to get the ball into her eyes and her mouth, and that would make her see and speak. I never got anywhere close to completing that table. It was so difficult, but it was great fun to play. The third table that came along, I think in the same year, was Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Oh my God, I loved playing this table so much. I loved the mix of elements with also a very free central area for the ball to run in. But my favourite thing about Terminator 2 was every so often you got this feature where you'd have to get like the gun control that released the ball, and you'd have to shoot it at a target, so the gun would sort of go along the playing area like this, and you'd have to shoot the target at a certain point. And Arnie would say, "Take your best shot." And you'd have all these guys at the pinball table going, sort of lining up the shot like this, looking like complete knobs. It was great fun. I really enjoyed that table. If you enjoyed that table as much as me, let me know in the comments below. And then, out of the blue, turned up the Doctor Who pinball table. Now, this was a very special table for me because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, so of course I was going to play it and I was determined to like it, which was difficult because it wasn't the most playable of pinball tables, to be honest. It was very difficult to get anywhere on it. So if you did get anywhere on it, it was like, yes! You had these sort of 7 missions that corresponded to the 7 actors who'd played Doctor Who up to that point. But it was very hard to get anywhere, I remember. If you rode the ramps on that table, you felt so good because it was so hard to get your rhythm going riding up the ramps. But it was a Doctor Who table, and I was just really glad that it existed in the first place. I thought it was wonderful. The following year appeared my 2 favourite tables of all time. The first, sticking with TV sci-fi, was Star Trek The Next Generation. I think this was the most complete and entertaining table that I played on, actually. What I liked about Star Trek's Next Generation, it was a good-looking machine, lots of stuff going on. But I also liked the fact that in the electronic score part, you had different missions. So the Star Trek crew would go on different missions. And there was quite a lot of them, and they were quite entertaining to play, and they gave you a different sense of gameplay, because you had the table gameplay, plus you had a sort of computer arcade gameplay at the same time. And I thought that was really good. It made the game a much fuller experience. It pains me to admit it as a Whovian, but the Trekkies got the better table there. It was better than the Doctor Who table, which was a shame, but there you go. Probably the best table overall to play on. But it wasn't my favourite, actually. My favourite was the last table that I fell in love with, and this was the Indiana Jones table. This turned up much later on. It was the 4th table in the row, I remember. And I loved the Indiana Jones films, and I loved playing on this table. I loved the music, the voice effects, all the various things on the table. I liked the fact that the trigger to push the ball out into play was a gun. You know, it was Indy's revolver. So much going on, great artwork, a really, really entertaining table that really recaptured the feel of the Indiana Jones movies. And that was a personal favourite of mine. So those are my 6 favourite tables. I'd love to hear from fellow Pinny addicts what your favourite tables were from any era, particularly that era though. I looked on the wonderful site called the Internet Pinball Database. It actually exists, where they list every single pinball table ever. And you get, they show all the features and everything. I'll give you a link to it at the bottom. Such a good site. Apparently on the Internet Pinball Database, it says that the most popular table of all time was Twilight Zone, which was a table which was around at the time, but I never saw it. I never got to play in it. So I'm quite sad about that, really. So check out that site and let me know what pinball tables you enjoyed playing, and what were your circumstances. Did you play it at college, at university, in bars? I love pinball. I'm a total Pinny addict. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe.